Hello, welcome back to Books and Biscuits, a semi-weekly show where we look at books that are in the library at the May House and the horses eat biscuits. This week we have some new biscuits and they're heart-shaped and they love them. Okay, so, you got it? Okay. So this week we're going to be reading this book called Freedom Farmers, Agricultural Resistance and the Black Freedom Movement. By Monica M. White. It was published in 2019 by the University of North Carolina Press. So in this book, Dr. White introduces us to this theoretical framework that she calls CACR, Collective Agency and Community Resilience. Sounds kind of fancy, but what she's looking at is building sustainable communities through alternative structures and complementing these, like, sort of putting them up next to the same timeline as the civil rights movement with boycotts, sit-ins, and other kinds of protests that we might normally think about. So sometimes this is a little bit of an academic book, but it's also like super accessible, and it's a really great way for anybody who wants to understand a little bit more about agricultural history and how we can use that for the future. So it follows a lot of case studies from the 1960s through today, but first it starts by grounding the reader in the history of slave gardens, seeds carried over from Africa, and food production as a form of resistance. Come here, Linda Ruth. So she starts us off by kind of like really talking about some history that might be familiar to you. Marcus Garver. Nope. She starts us off by talking about some history that might be familiar to you. Marcus Garvey, George Washington Carver, Peanuts and all that. Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and cooperative movement. Hi, Ziggy.
They're pushing on your chair.
But then the case studies we really get into is like Fannie Lou Hamer, if you've ever heard of Fannie Lou Hamer, which if you haven't, Google right now, and Freedom Farm, she sets this up as sort of like an alternative to northern migration. We learn about the pig bank. I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but it's where families were supplied with pigs to create protein for families. Then we get into Federation of Southern Cooperatives, which is a really fascinating history where lots of small farmers were working together to like pool their production power and offset.
Cat. Right, go ahead.
And like to offset a lot of the racism in the farming system. And then we get like more up to the present with like D-Town Farms in Detroit, which is still to this day operated by the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network, and you can get D-Town Farm produce at farmers markets in Detroit. So why is this book on the shelf? Okay, so maybe you're like me, you grew up in a largely white community and you learned mostly only about white history and you didn't never really learn anything about black agriculture. And now like you're an adult and you want to change this for yourself, you want to change this for your children. This is an excellent book for that. But if you're somebody who already knows a lot about this history, maybe it's part of your own community, your own family, then you're still going to find a ton of good stuff in it because she really looks at like case studies of what's worked, what hasn't worked, and really kind of pulls from that history. So it's on the shelf because we think that if we're going to be talking about community preparedness, then we really need to understand a really nuanced version of that. And what we really need to do is, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted by Linda. Okay, let me start off one more time.
Got him.
Got it? Okay. Okay, community preparedness. So people who are interested in community preparedness really need to have like a very nuanced idea of that history and what that means. So that won't work. There we go. People really need to have a better, more nuanced idea about what that means, so we can like learn about what's already been done and think about what we can gain from that and how we move forward. As the world of community preparedness especially can be really patriarchal and racist and definitely anti-community. So books like this in this history, when you know about this kind of history, you see the world in a different kind of way, and the community preparedness community needs more of that. So you can find this on the shelf along with lots of other cool books, and we'll be back here next Sunday with a new book and more biscuits. And if you have a book you'd like for us to read or talk about for the shelf, let us know. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And please share this video with someone else so we can keep doing this. Thank you and goodbye.
Website.
Oh yeah, and the website is going to go right here. Thank you so much. Goodbye. A horse has my hair.